I'm Tara, and this is Loving Ocean Tarot. Welcome if this is your first time here, and welcome back if you have been here before. Today we are going to be asking the question of what does May have in store for you? And we're going to be looking at what May is going to look like for you in three categories, which is your love and relationships, your career and studies and academics, and finally your personal and spiritual growth. I did another monthly reading last April where I mentioned that I kind of took the basic outline of these three categories from one of my favorite tarot readers on the internet, which is Kino Tarot, and I will have her channel linked down below in the description. But yes, so we're going to be looking at those three categories, and what I want you to do is to select one of these three piles here, which will then take you to your reading specifically for you. And as you can see, on top of these three piles we have these three little fishes, or fish. What is the plural of fish? I think it can be both, right? Fish and fishes. But anyway, I'm kind of going on a tangent. So we have three different glass fish, which can help you make your selection. So you can base your selection out of your on your own intuition. You can base your selection on the colors of these fish, or just the general energies you get from each of these three piles. And you can take as long as you need to make your selection, and when you have finally made a decision, the timestamps for each of these piles will be down in the description box. So let me also show you these three fish up close. So for pile number 1, we have this orange fish. For pile number 2, we have this blue fish. And finally, for pile number 3, we have this clear fish, which has a bit of a rainbow coating on it, if you can see. So take as much time as you need to make your selection, and I'll be getting started with pile number 1. Hi pile number 1s, this is for those of you that chose this orange glass fish, and let's get started with your reading for what is coming for you in the month of May 2025. So I have two cards here. One is a tarot card and one is an oracle card, which will give us your general energy for the month of May, and after that we'll go into some additional tarot cards for the rest of the categories that I mentioned earlier in the intro, and I'll be shuffling those live for you. So for the general energies for your month of May 2025, we have the Devil. This is one of the scarier artworks that I've seen for the Devil card, but I really like it because it's based on Indian mythology. And then the oracle card for your for the general energy of your month of May, we have Inner Earth. You'll survive this, new solutions and beginnings. Okay, I'm going to start with them here. Okay, so immediately what I'm sort of seeing with this is that in the month of May, with the Devil card, you are going to be actively cutting away anything that is influencing you negatively in your life. And this could be in any okay, I don't know if you can see, because the only thing that's kind of clear in the foreground is the Devil's face, but if you look at the body of the Devil, you can see that he has this arm raised which is holding a sword, and it's making me think of how you are going to be cutting away things that are negatively affecting you or pulling you down or holding you back from your new beginning in May. And that's really interesting, because even though the Devil talks about things holding you back, I also look at the Devil imagery of this Devil that has its arm raised with a sword cutting away at things, and how you are the one cutting away at things. And this kind of so when I was shuffling the cards out for each of the piles, right, I saw this card, and interestingly what came out to me the most was kind of specific, and it said that in the month of May, you will not shy away from being the Devil in somebody else's life. And what I mean by that is not that you're going to be holding other people back, but rather you don't mind being painted as the villain anymore. And it's like it's this like very specific situation where maybe some people, like, you've really been like bending always, like, just to get somebody to feel comfortable around you, or you've been really trying super hard to bend to the will of somebody else around you, and you did it because you thought it was like in your collective best interest. But I feel like over the past few weeks or something, like maybe even a month, you might have been realizing that this isn't it, you know, like the way that you're sort of like editing yourself, or the way that you're holding yourself back just to please certain people in your life isn't good. Like, it's holding you back from your full potential, and it's forcing you to be inauthentic to yourself. And now it's time for you to sort of shift the narrative and actually do something that feels right to you. And even though what you're doing might be collectively like beneficial because you're being more authentic, and it's also like stopping you from I don't know how to say this, but like giving into somebody else's bullshit essentially. um it's also possible for those people to kind of turn their back on you and be like, no, like now you're being this villain, like why are you doing the wrong thing by cutting me off, or by, you know, like not listening to my demands. And I feel like you're done with all of that. Like, you're like, it's okay if you make me out to be this villain. I did everything that I could to like make you happy, or just, you know, appease you in some way, but now is no longer that time. Like, I want to stand in my own power. And I think, like, with this card, with you'll survive this, new solutions and beginnings, I'm looking at this part where they say you'll survive this, and it's making me think of how it's also like in a way hurting you, right? So suppose this is like a close friend or a close family member, and for a long time you've really kind of done things their way, even though it sort of was at your own detriment. But now, since the dynamic between you is changing, it's also affecting the good parts. You know, like, I'm not saying that this relationship was completely bad. Like, maybe you had like a good, like, you had good times with these people, maybe you were there for them, you loved them, and vice versa, but something fundamental isn't working anymore. And while you're cutting away at this fundamental thing, all the other joys that floated on top are also going to go away. So you're also unhappy with the decision that you're having to make in order to protect yourself, or in order to set yourself free from something that's holding you back. And so you're also struggling, but here's this message: you'll survive this. New solutions and blessings are coming your way. Like, look at this beautiful imagery on this card. You know, this card has literally never come out for me once in all my years of having this deck. So I feel like I'm literally seeing it with new eyes, and it's so gorgeous. I feel like a child, you know, when you take a child somewhere new and they take in everything. Like, this is so beautiful. And I feel like, but look at this like cave, right? It seems like you're inside the cave, but you're finally making your way out the cave into this beautiful landscape. And right now you're still in the cave. So you see the pain that comes with having to do something as drastic as this, as having to cut off somebody, or to maybe it could be like leave a job because of like a toxic boss that you sort of got along with, but fundamentally they weren't doing you too much good. Or like, again, like a close friend. Maybe you have to kind of cut off like a family member, or just anybody that is holding you back from being your most real, honest, authentic self. So you're still in the cave, you know, when you're doing all of this. But the thing is, you have this new beginning coming for you, and it's so bright and it's so beautiful, and you're going to realize that you're actually making the best move that you can for yourself. So I feel like the general energy for you in May is that you're cutting away things, and not just like immediately like you enter May and you're just like shh, shh. No, it's not like it's not like that exactly. It's just that you're kind of spending this time realizing things, and you're spending this time figuring out how to go about this in the most precise and smooth way. And then this energy is kind of going to be hovering above you, because even once you like cut somebody off, it's not immediately that you step out into the sunshine, right? Like, there's still this period of just feeling kind of shaky because you're taking away something that even you depended on or that you considered routinely for a lot of time. But it's coming, and that's the energy that you're in May. When, like, I'm kind of getting this image of like a baby deer, and when they're on like shaky footing, but they have that like fresh innocence to them as well. So it's like you're ready for this new beginning, but you're just on shaky footing because you're unsure. You've just only stepped into this new world where this thing that's holding you back no longer has an influence on you. It's the memory that might have an influence, like a lasting influence, and you're gonna have to like work on that slowly to, you know, like sometimes we can feel guilty. We can feel like, you know, even if we said that, yeah, it's okay if you make me the villain, we can internally feel like the villain and be like, oh my god, did I do something wrong? Did I make the wrong decision? But I feel like these afterthoughts, you can sort of deal with them easily, and it's gonna be okay. Yeah, and that's like your general energy for the month of May. Ooh, that rhymed. Okay, and May. Very fun. But yeah, I'm gonna put these to the side. I'll put them here. And we're gonna get into your cards for the areas of your love and relationships, your career and your academics, and your spiritual and personal growth in the month of May. And like I said earlier, I will be shuffling live, so please bear with me. Okay, so what is coming for pile number 1 in the month of May for their love and relationships? Ooh, we have the 8 of Wands. I'm gonna get all the cards out, and then we're gonna go into it. What is coming into pile number 1's life in the month of May in their career and studies, their career and academics? Okay, that was a mess. Can we get one card, please, for pile 1's career and studies in the month of May? Something turned over. We have the Ace of Wands. Lots of Wands energy here. And then finally, what is coming for pile number 1 in the month of May for their personal and spiritual growth? One to come out, and we have the Page of Wands. Look at that, all Wands cards. How interesting is that? That's amazing. I think we have like a very specific energy. Also, like the fish you chose is orange, which makes me think of fire again, and Wands has to do with fire. This could also mean that you guys could be fire signs, people significant around you that could be kind of, you know, facing the consequences of you cutting them off. Maybe they could be fire signs. Anybody significant around you during the month of May could be a fire sign. Let's also get some oracle cards for each of these 3 categories. Okay. So, what is coming for pile number 1 in their love and relationships in the month? Oh, that was weird, but I want to take that now. Oh my god, look at that! Show the world the real you. Full moon in Aquarius. That was such a weird shuffle, and when that fell out, I immediately was like, I want to take that. I feel like that happened for a reason. Ooh. Okay, what is coming for pile number 1 in their career and studies in the month of May? We have luck is on your side, new moon in Sagittarius. And finally, for your spiritual and personal growth, what is happening for pile number 1 in the month of May for their personal and spiritual growth? That was 2 cards. I'm a messy shuffler, guys. What is coming for pile number 1 in the month of May in their personal and spiritual growth? Your hard work is paying off. New moon in Capricorn. Okay. Amazing. I'm seeing all of this now. Okay. So immediately I want to talk about just like the sheer amount of like fire energy that we're seeing here with all of these wands cards. This to me is very interesting because the wands also have to do with our passions, right? And what I can't get these cards straight, my goodness. But yeah, they have to do with like our passions and something that fuels us. And that sort of, when we look at this love and relationships, right? 8 of Wands is a really fast moving energy. It speaks of a lot of changes coming into your life. And that combined with this full moon in Aquarius, I got this very specific imagery because like Aquarius is an air sign, right? And I was thinking of like, if your true authentic essence can be described through air, maybe you are like an air sign, but I don't mean it that way. I just mean like your essence has to fan the flames of change. So you know like how when you try to light a fire, right, you need to like keep blowing at it or like just fanning it or something to make sure that it truly catches light. So I feel like even though there is so much potential change that is coming your way, it is your authentic self which can truly fan the flames of change. And all this change that's going to happen in your love and relationships, the changes that are going to take place because you are finally stepping away from people that were like wrongly influencing you or holding you back, that change can take place once you are ready to show the world the real you. Once you are no longer ashamed or afraid of finally truly being your most authentic self. And I feel like you can only show the world the real you once you are okay with seeing the real you yourself. And I feel like you need to really sit down and look at yourself and understand all the good that you truly have the potential to be, and all the good that you've perhaps suppressed because people around you were not okay with you showing that part of you. This is also making me think of like, you know, how in a friendship, like maybe it's like a long-term friendship, and one person sort of grows faster than the other person, and this other person, like unbeknownst to them, perhaps they're feeling some kind of envy or something about your growth, and you sense it even though they might not actually say it. And you have like arguments that come up because of your change, and over time you realize that maybe you have to suppress your change, right? You have to suppress your growth in order to make sure that your friendship, you know, goes on equal footing where everybody feels comfortable. But the thing is, like, why should you do that? Why should you hide away a part of yourself? Of course, like this example that I'm giving you is very specific, but in any of these relationships in your life, if you are feeling like you are being suppressed, that you are being pushed down, or that you cannot show the real you to the people that you are supposedly close to, it's time for you to reevaluate that. And that can come with you finally admitting that the changes that you have, you know, made for yourself, like the way that you've grown, all those are positive things that deserve expression in the full real world. Like, you deserve to be able to express yourself, because what you are going to express is something that's beautiful and it deserves space. And I feel like once you realize that, you're going to be okay with showing the world the real you. And once you're okay with showing the world the real you, it's going to fan the flames of change in your relationships, because you're done with being shut down, right? You're done with being pushed away, and you're done with being closed off. So once you open that door, it's like, I just imagine like this door opening and the gust of wind blowing out, which sets fire to this change, you know. And I think like that's why like things might move really fast, and you're gonna realize how big of a catalyst you are in that change. Because it's like, if you have accumulated change over like a long period of time, but you've never been allowed to show it, right? You've never felt comfortable or safe in showing the world the real change that you've sort of made, or rather the change that you've, what's it called, what's the verb, but yeah, basically the change that you've sort of accumulated over a long period of time. And finally, when you realize that, you know what, I'm done like kind of hiding this change, within a click, all that change that maybe needed expression over a few years, a few months, gets shown within the period of like a week or something. And it feels like so much has changed. But here's the thing, you have worked towards that change. Like this new solution and beginning, you have been walking out of the cave for a long time, but maybe your eyes were closed to it. Your eyes were closed to the view. So finally, when you come out of the cave and you see the view, it seems blinding because you weren't used to the light, because you had looked away from the light. But now it's time for you to look at the light, to look at your own light and see how much it brightens up your own life. Fire, light, life force, you have all of it. And look at that, we have the Page of Wands, right? For your personal and spiritual growth. The Page of Wands is somebody to me who is like finally sort of realizing and admitting that they want to be like this lifelong passionate learner of something. And you're taking that first step. You're taking the first step out of like the numbers of the tarot, right? Like the ace all the way through 10. This is the first court card. I'm kind of hearing you're entering the big leagues. That's such a funny thing, entering the big leagues, especially when it comes to like your personal and spiritual growth. But I feel like it almost feels like a graduation. And also, like, look at this person here, right? They're holding this like scroll. It could be like it's making me think of again like graduation, like you're graduating into the big leagues, like you're finally like you're a bigger person now than you were. And I'm kind of again hearing, how some people, when they see the people around them becoming big, they're like, oh, so you're a big guy now, you're like a tough person. And they mean it sarcastically because in some way they feel held back. They feel, oh my god, how did I not even notice this? Your hard work is paying off. All that change that you work towards, it's paying off. So even though you had to keep it hidden, even though you felt like you couldn't show it, it is going to pay off because you did work towards it. And finally, now that you're going to be out into the world, even though you feel like a baby deer on shaky legs, internally you're not. You're a stag, or you're a beautiful doe, a beautiful, powerful, strengthened, and emotionally intelligent doe or stag. Like, I'm saying a lot of deer names, but I don't know that much about deer, Loki. But yeah, like, you might perceive yourself as a baby deer because you're entering a situation that you're unfamiliar with, because you're cutting off something, right? You're cutting something off that perhaps was a big part of your life. And so that's causing you to feel like you're on shaky footing. But the thing is, you've put work into yourself in order to feel stronger. Ooh, also like, look at this, like Capricorn. Oh my god, this is literally so interesting because the symbol for Capricorn is a goat, but they have like a tail, like a fish. And it's making me think of like, you're ready for like any situation that might come your way. Like, you might feel like, hey, I'm just like a little baby deer, I'm just a little baby goat, but like before you know it, you're jumping through mountains and you're literally like, this fish tail, like it's making me think of how you can literally like swim in waters as well. Like your perception of yourself is way smaller than who you actually are, because this change, because you've had to suppress it, your perception has been limited to the version of you that that is finally filtered after all that suppression. But you're not just the filtered version, right? You're everything behind the filter as well, and it's like this dam breaking and everything's coming through, and it just takes a little bit of fear until you open your eyes and realize that you're swimming, and you're swimming well. So I feel like, yeah, like you've graduated, and like this change, I know it might seem scary, but it's something that you can really get through. You're capable of this, and it's everything that you work towards. Also, while I was shuffling these cards, I also, like when I was mentioning the signs that you might be, like when I said you might be like a fire sign, I also thought of like the devil, which is related to Capricorn, and then we had a Capricorn card come out. And remember what I said earlier about how the devil typically is a symbol of something that is holding you back, but how in this card what I felt like is that you are okay with being the villain. So it's almost like in somebody's life you are the devil, right? So it's like your hard work and you taking a stance, like while somebody else might perceive it as you being a villain, it's just you standing up for yourself, and you're being able to stand up for yourself because you've worked towards that self-confidence. You've worked towards realizing that you can survive, and even though you might not fully believe it because this is the first time you're doing something like this, you will survive it. It's there, like you'll survive this. New solutions and beginnings. Ooh, and new beginnings. And then we have the Ace of Wands, which is like, again, like the aces are all about something new coming through, right? And then we have like Ace of Wands, which makes me think of like in the context of your career and studies, of like a new opportunity that you might be kind of picking up or following through on. And that's why this makes me feel like this change could also be with like, leaving like a job that while it had its good times, it was fundamentally like toxic on some level, and it was like kind of bleeding you dry sort of. And you're taking that chance on yourself, and you're like, I will go out into the unknown. And then you have this opportunity. Luck is on your side. Also, we have 2 new moons. And new moons are, we have like one full moon and 2 new moons, which is interesting. We have like none of those like in between cards. And I feel like this new moon sort of is representing like this unknown world that you're going out into, like when things are dark, when you don't really know what's out there. But here we have the full moon, and this to me like makes me think of who you are. Like, show the world the real you. And you are going to be illuminating yourself and your life enough to give yourself the confidence to keep going on this path, to keep doing things even though you're scared. And like I said, this dam breaks and it takes a little bit of fear, but then you open your eyes and you realize that you're swimming, right? Luck is on your side. And technically it's not even luck, it's something that you work towards internally. And I don't know how do I put this across? So often, like, when we think of like these 3 categories in our lives, we can think of them as being pretty separate. And especially when we talk about like the work that we do internally, like our personal and spiritual growth, it can feel like something that doesn't really have an effect on the outside world. Like, you might think, how is me working on myself, sitting in my room by myself, affecting the job that I get finally? But it does, it really does. And that's why I'm feeling like you might even feel like this opportunity that you're getting in terms of your career and studies could be something that is just out of sheer luck, because you don't see the connection between this opportunity and the work that you've put into yourself, but the connection is there. Because this work that you put into yourself allows you to see opportunities, to see your worth, to make sure that you know what feels good to you, that you don't let a good opportunity pass you by. Like, all this comes from internal work, and you getting this opportunity is a direct result of this work. I'm also feeling like, like Page of Wands, like you graduated, it's time for like a job. So I feel like this could even like very literally be that you have graduated, and I'm kind of getting like this very specific situation of like how some people like graduate earlier, and they do it because while it was fun, they realized that the people that they were sort of like around, like maybe in their program or like maybe their professors, like they no longer like aligned with what you felt internally, and so you were just like, let me just speed this up, I need to like get this shit done. And when you do it, like you get out in the world and you have like all these opportunities coming up for you because you graduated earlier. Like, you just get to see things faster or something. Again, like that's like a specific situation. It might not be true for all of you, but I thought I'd just like put that out there because it just came to my mind. Yes, like overall I feel like May is going to be a month of big changes. And again, like these are all Wands cards, which makes me think of how this change will affect like all parts of your life. This change will affect the other part, this change will affect these parts. Like, it's all very interconnected. And even though you might not see the connection between things, I feel like maybe by the end of the month of May you're going to be able to see things clearer. I feel like a lot of the times that when we don't see things clearly, it's also because we're not allowing ourselves to see. And remember how I talked earlier about how you know, like when you were walking through the cave, like you kept your eyes closed because you were unsure of like what it would be like, and then finally when you go out into it, it's this bright light and this beautiful place. But that doesn't mean that you haven't worked towards the beautiful place. You literally walked through the cave, right? So because this bright blinding new light, like it might feel unconnected or something, but it's the direct product of the work that you've put into yourself. So I feel like by the end of this month, you're going to be able to see the connections between different parts of your life and see how clearing this one part away fueled this new opportunity, fueled you feeling more confident in yourself, fueled your authentic self, and how your authentic self in turn allowed you to make changes for your relationships, knowing that you will survive the fallout, survive the little destruction that might follow. I feel like there's a stability that you guys are like moving into May with, but here's the thing, I feel like you're not super aware of your own stability. And that's why I keep coming back to this point of like the baby deer on shaky footing. Like you feel like a baby deer on shaky footing, but internally you're a grown-up deer. You're a stag, you're a doe, you're a full-grown, confident person that just hasn't had expression yet. And once you let that person out, you will realize that you're no longer baby deer. So it's not something that's going to be working behind the scenes. It's going to be in your every move. You just need to let that part of you out. Show the world the real you. This is amazing energy, pile number one. And I'm so happy that like this is coming your way in the month of May. Ooh, literally another rhyme, coming your way in the month of May. Is May just like a really easy word to rhyme? I feel like it is. But yeah, like even before I was like shuffling the cards, like I was thinking about how I wanted to do I sometimes I stutter, guys. It's not a big deal. Woohoo. But I was thinking of doing like this collective reading just based on my intuition in the beginning, but then I thought better of it. But I was literally talking about how May is going to feel like this month where things that have been bubbling underneath the surface are finally coming out. They're finally finding expression in the real world. They're finally coming out there. It's no longer bubbling underneath the surface. It's out there. And this feels so in line with that intuitively. So I feel like this is gonna be like a great month for you guys. And even though you're gonna like have to make tough decisions and go through some changes, it's going to be really good and positive for you. You just need to know how to listen to that inner voice within you and to know what you actually truly feel and truly want. And then trust that voice. You know, if there's been like this little voice inside of you that's asking you to do something, that's asking for change, don't shut it down out of fear. Listen to it. Give it time and listen to what it has to say, because it might be the gateway to something so beautiful and so bright and so much more hopeful. Might? I mean, it, like I'm saying might, but I feel like it's very likely. Like I feel like that's your intuition. You don't need to shut it away anymore. Show the world the real you. Show the world like show yourself the real you, you know? And like trust your intuition. Yeah, that's amazing. But I think this is all I have for you guys, my pile ones. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you like the video, leave a like, or comment down below like what you think about this, because, or even like come back at the end of May and let me know how this goes, because I hope it goes super well and I wish you the very best of luck. It's not luck, it's all your hard work. Again, I have to mention that. But yes, I thank you again. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for letting me read for you. Subscribe to my channel if you'd like to watch more readings from me, because I'm loving doing readings for you guys in this little corner of the internet. But yes, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye! Hi, pal number twos. This is for those of you that chose this blue glass fish. And let's get into your reading for what is coming for you in the month of May 2025. So I have these two pre-shuffled cards here, which are going to tell us your general energy for the month of May. And after reading these, we will be shuffling live for what is coming for you in the categories of your love and relationships, your career and your academics, and your personal and spiritual growth. So let's get into your general energy. So for you, we have Justice, and we have Big Picture Thinking, Pleiades energy, visionary, inspired ideas. I think that's how you pronounce that, Pleiades. See if you can figure out how to pronounce it. If I'm doing it wrong, let me know if I'm doing it wrong. Okay, so what I'm kind of getting from these right off the bat is that May is going to be a month for you where you really kind of start planning. And I think it's kind of, so usually when I read like this card, when I see this card, like the Justice card, it makes me think of like kind of these more like metaphysical or spiritual ideas of justice, like when I think of the law of the universe or karma, or just kind of like this underlying like rhythm of the universe or something. But right now I feel like it's coming across in this very literal way, like justice, and it's making me think of like, it's making me think of paperwork. And not only paperwork, but rather like, you know how like justice, like the law, it's very like step by step, like there's a very clear step of like what needs to be done next, and then after that and after that and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like May is going to be a month where you're going to be doing like a lot of this footwork, no, what's it called, groundwork. Yeah, like you're laying the groundwork for something that's been in the works for some time. And again, like this big picture thinking, right? Like I feel like maybe you've, before the month of May, there's been like this kind of idea that you've been nurturing, and you've really just been kind of chiseling away at the idea as like an abstract concept. But May is the month where you finally kind of get into your rhythm and start doing the work to actually fulfill this idea. And I said this in like group number 1 as well, because their reading was in line with what I had to say. But yeah, I'm gonna say for you guys too that before I even like shuffled any of the cards, I was literally thinking of doing this collective reading of sorts based on like the messages that I'd been receiving from my intuition about how May is going to be a month where people really start like working towards their like dreams and ideas. Like gone is the time of pure introspection. Like we are stepping into this energy of actually doing things and taking actual steps towards the stuff that we want to achieve, or the stuff that we've been dreaming about for the past few months. And this feels like very in line with that thought, because also like look at this, right? We have this doorway here, and it's making me think of like how you're finally going past this doorway. Like you're going out of the house to do the work, and you're going from this like place of dreaminess into this place of action. And that's what justice make me think of. But here's another thing, justice is like, when we think of like the judicial system or like law, it's kind of like a painstaking process. Like it's very slow, and well, there's like a lot of reason that happens, and like corruption and all that jazz is like a big part of stuff like that. But I mean that in a very general sense, even when things are going exactly the way they should and they're going correctly, there's still like a lot of like time that, you know, the work takes. It's not like the quickest stuff, but I feel like there's this determination that I see in you to actually go forward with it despite how tiring or something the process might be. So this could even be like, maybe you guys are very literally like trying to study to become lawyers, like you're trying to pass like some exams or something. But like in general, like exams could be something like, you know, you had this plan of like, oh, I need to give this exam as part of like an application somewhere, or just to get a certain certification or something like that. And like gone is the time of just planning and thinking about it. Now you're actually like studying and doing the work and filling out applications and doing the groundwork that needs to be done in order to make your dream a reality. So I feel like that's like what I'm seeing for your month of May. Now I'm gonna put these aside and we're gonna go into the cards for these specific areas of your life. And like I said, I'm gonna be shuffling live, and I'm a messy shuffler, guys, so bear with me there. So what is coming for pile number 2 in the month of May 2025 in their love and relationships? Okay, we have, ooh, the Hierophant. Very interesting. Ooh, okay. So usually what I do is I put out all the cards, but like here's another message. Like, so if you guys are like thinking of getting married or something, or just like any kind of decision you're making in your love and relationships that has to do with like the judicial system or like the legal system or whatever, like you're kind of going to be working towards that, because the Hierophant also makes me think of marriage. So you could be doing the work to get your marriage certificate, and like I think you need like some witnesses to see you sign it, or like whatever, like you could have like a court wedding if that's what you're into, but something like that. Or maybe you're just like doing some wedding planning, and if so, congratulations are in order. Congratulations, guys. But yeah, let's get some more cards and then we'll go into like the actual readings. So, but that was just some messages that had to come out right there. Okay, so what is coming for pile number 2 in the month of May 2025 in their career and studies or academics? That's a lot of cards. We're going to shuffle again. Can we please get one card, Spirit, for what is coming for pile number 2 in their career and studies in the month of May? A lot of cards again. Okay, so I guess like a lot is happening. It's making me think again of what I said about like how there's like a lot of tiny steps that need to be taken. But yeah, let's see. What is coming for pile number 2 in the month of May for their career and academics? Want to come out? Yes. We have the Page of Pentacles. Okay. And finally, what is coming for pile number 2 in the month of May in their personal and spiritual growth? Gosh, okay. We have the 6 of Cups. Okay, and let's get into your oracle cards for each of these areas of your life. See what I mean, guys? Like, I'm a messy shuffler, but it gets the job done. It's fine. Messy doesn't have to mean not working, right? Jesus. I need to prove myself and my messiness. Okay, what is coming for pile number 2 in the month of May in their love and relationships? Ooh, balance, spirituality, and practicality. Very interesting. Makes a lot of sense too. We're gonna get into all of it. What is coming for pile number 2 in the month of May 2025 in their career and studies? See, look at this. This is so crazy. Like, so many cards again for this particular area of your life. Something is definitely happening here. We're gonna get into all of it. We have bring love into the situation. New moon in Aquarius. Very, very, very interesting. And finally, what is coming for pile number 2 is in the month of May in their personal growth and spiritual growth. We have the answers you need are coming. Okay, I think this is all super, super interesting. And frankly, I don't even know where to start. But I feel like literally all of these like parts of your life are super connected, which is why I'm not figuring out where to start. But let's start with this Page of Pentacles right here, and like this bring love into a situation with new moon in Aquarius. Also, like, you or your loved ones or like people significant in the month of May might be Taurus placements, or they might be general like Earth placements that's coming through. Justice is also like Libra, so those are some relevant signs that I'm seeing. So with Page of Pentacles, I feel like this connects very directly to what we talked about with Justice, and how like you might be working towards like an actual goal finally, like doing like the actual legwork, because the Page of Pentacles is this card of somebody who's, I don't know, like look at them. They're like on the move. It's making me think of like, you know, when you're like heading out of the house and you're like, you know, you're checking, like you have your bag and your wallet and your keys and you're kind of in a rush and you're heading out. And it makes me think of like how you're just going to be kind of busy when it comes to your career and your academics in this month, because you're working towards something and it requires you to actually like go out of the house and do like the legwork to make something happen. And the Pentacles also, like they talk about like the material world, they talk about like everything that you see in the 3D world, the Pentacles, they have to do with it all. And so that's what I feel like this career, like the stuff that's happening in your career and studies, is something that's very like, it's very material, it's very tangible work. You're not just sitting and dreaming about things anymore, you're actually doing things, and you're doing things that like even other people can sort of like account for. Because sometimes, like, you know, I'm kind of thinking of like you know, when a maths teacher is like, show your work, like how did you get an answer, right? And the maths teacher in that moment, what is she asking you to do? She's essentially telling you to show the tangible work that that is going behind your answer. So you're not just like thinking about it, and the work that you're doing is not just about it's not just mental work, it's very like physical, very real work. Like maybe you're having to like make notes if you're studying, or maybe you're having to go to the library and get some books out, and you're like reading books and you're making diagrams, or you're filling out paperwork. And generally, like, I feel like it's gonna be like a busy month for you guys. And especially like that combined with this card, like here, like bring love into the situation, I feel like there's this chance that you guys might be getting like frustrated at times in the month of May, just because like you're getting super caught up in the work that you have to do. And I feel like you're gonna have to like often like remind yourself of why you're doing the work, because this is, even if you're out of the dreamy state, it is still something that once was just a dream, and it was once something that brought you like a lot of joy and excitement and passion. And just because you're finally doing the actual work and the work is tiring doesn't mean that you should sort of forget that, right? Like you need to remind yourself of the love that you actually have for this project that you're working towards. And it's actually going to help you counteract a lot of the frustration that might come up when you're working, and a lot of the annoyances. Like I feel like, you know, when you're busy, when your mind is busy, you can also sort of get annoyed at other things around you, which kind of brings me back to this situation here, like with your love and relationships, when I talked about like how the Hierophant talks about you know, maybe you could be like planning a wedding, maybe you could be like, you know, going to the court to get married, or like even figuring out the logistics of maybe moving in together with somebody, or even just like moving back home. Like it feels like something like a very practical decision that you're making in terms of your love and relationships. Like you should remember to, in that moment, like in the moment, like getting like to not get caught up in the practicality of the situation, and to remember like the love behind those decisions. So maybe you decided to move in together because you love this person, right? Not only because it was practical, because, or maybe you decided to marry them, of course, because you love them, or maybe you decided to move back home with your family because you wanted to have more time with your family, or just like any of those decisions that might sort of impact your. The camera just like stopped recording somehow, but luckily I found out like fairly soon, and I just missed like 4 or 5 minutes or something. But yeah, like I was talking about the Hierophant, and like if, like I said, like you guys are like moving in, like it's good to remember why you're deciding to move in with somebody, or like why you're choosing to take a certain step with a certain partner, or just in any relationship. And it's also really interesting that we have balance, spirituality, and practicality here, because I feel like, okay, how do I even say this? Like, I feel like in your practical work, you are being reminded to bring love into the situation. And then in your love and relationships, you're being told to balance your spirituality and practicality. So I feel like there's this zigzag situation going on of like how you can truly balance things. And also like we have the full moon in Gemini here, which makes me think of, again, like with these two faces, like we have like a balance of two different sides, you know. And I just, this is such an interesting energy, to be honest. So I feel like, again, like with this example of like how you might perhaps be planning for like a certain decision in your love and relationships, like maybe you're planning a wedding, you're planning a court wedding even, or just you're planning to move in with your partner, or move back in with your family, move in with a roommate, like all these different examples, like they talk about something practical, right? And like, but these are also people that you have like a relationship with. So I feel like it's almost like a message coming through of really knowing like how to balance like your love for this relationship, for this person that you have in your life, and the practicality of the actual situation. So maybe even if you're thinking of like moving in with a best friend, you have to think about like, yeah, you can really enjoy your time with this person, but are they really somebody that you want to move in with? Like, is it practical? Are your personalities compatible? Or on the other hand, like if you're focusing too much on the practicality and forgetting that at the end of the day you guys trust the love that you have for each other, and you don't really have to get into like the nitty-gritty of every single detail, because you know at the end of the day that this is the person that you can like trust, and trust that you will be listened to, you know. So it's that kind of thing, you know. It's making me think of like how you need to sort of approach every decision you make, not with like a predetermined methodology, but rather kind of trust that in that situation the right answer will be presented to you. And look at that, like full moon in Gemini, the answers you need are coming. And then that to kind of be there in your personal growth, I feel like this talks about generally like a change, or rather a transformation that you're going through in your own personality, that maybe you feel the need to often be very practical and thorough. And maybe that's why, like how I talked about, like in the month of May, you're finally like doing the groundwork for something that you've been dreaming about. And maybe the reason that you spend so much time dreaming about it is because you like having every single detail in place before you begin working on something. But the thing is that no matter how much you plan something, changes can always come through. Like things can always change, situations can change, people can change, because everything in the world is a dynamic energy. Nothing is stagnant, and things can often even be volatile, you know. And you don't know truly the domino effect of things in your life. So it's almost kind of this like larger message of letting go, but it's not just like of stepping back and stepping away from things, but rather trusting that you don't need to always plan for every last thing. Sometimes you can trust yourself to make the right decision, and you can trust other people to also kind of show up for themselves and make the right decisions for themselves. So especially like in your work, with this like in your career and studies, so especially like if you're maybe working on a project and you're working on it with a bunch of other people, you need to trust that they are also competent people who Like, just because you don't fully understand like their decisions and their decision making process doesn't mean that their decisions are wrong. Or just because, even if you both arrive at the same conclusion, if like your methodology isn't the same, that their decisions are wrong in some way. So that's what, like, when I think of this card, right, bring love into the situation, to me, like, love is almost like it's it's an energy, it's an emotion that brings a lot of other energies and emotions with it. Like, love brings with it trust, brings with it faith, um, love brings with it spirituality. So I feel like you're being asked to sort of allow this flowing energy of love to sometimes take over, or rather soothe the more nitpicky or like nitty gritty energy of practicality that might overtake you at times. This is also really interesting because we have the Six of Cups here, right? And the Six of Cups talks about, like, if you remember, like in the original Rider Waite-Smith, if you've seen that card, we have two children, I think it is, and they're giving each other like flowers. And it's making me think in general of like childhood, right? And going back to the space of feeling a little more carefree when you didn't have to have everything so tightly like held on to. Like, again, like, look at this imagery here of like a ship, right? And you see these like waves crashing onto, is it called the hull of a ship? But like a ship is something you have to be really precise with. I'm thinking of like, when people are going out on a boat or something, they have to know like what to do with the ropes and what to do with the sails. And I have never been on a ship, and I've never worked, I have been on ships, but I've never been boating myself. Like, I've never been in charge of making a boat work, so I don't know too much, but like it seems like precise work. And I feel like, I'm getting this very, very, very specific image now of like, look at this like treasure chest here, right, of these cups, and this is the Six of Cups. You have this like Six of Cups, this childhood that you feel like as a grown-up you need to protect, that you need to like make a lot of like do a lot of work around to make sure that this part of you remains safe, because you don't want to sort of feel maybe helpless or something again. But I feel like you're doing, I don't know how to say, I want to say this in like the kindest way possible, but it's coming across that maybe you're doing too much sometimes, and you're doing too much, and maybe it's coming from this like place of wanting to protect yourself. But the thing is, the thing that you're trying to protect is not as helpless as you think it is. Like, you can take a lot more hits than you think you can. And this is not to say that like that you deserve those hits that are coming your way or anything, but that your ship is stronger than you think. And the insides of the ship, these little cups that you're protecting, this inner child or whoever that you think you're protecting, is so much stronger than you believe they are, and they can truly handle it if you let go of the reins sometimes, and maybe you let them come forth. And they obviously don't know how to do all these different things, but they're acting from a place of like inner authenticity. Like, they do what feels right in the moment, and I feel like you need to sort of find that balance as well of, yes, practicality, like you're doing all these different things and taking all these tiny steps, but also of letting go and being without a plan sometimes, and not always preparing for every possible situation that comes up in your mind, because you trust yourself and you trust your inner child and you trust your soul to carry you over the tougher waves, because you know that you can trust yourself to, at that moment, at that point in time, like, if should anything even arise, because like often I feel like we make all these different plans for like the worst case situations, and the worst case situation is something that is literally not even possible. So I feel like all this energy that you're sort of like maybe bleeding out into just these extra situations, you don't need to do that. Ooh, I'm also hearing like with this justice card, like let your inner like justice system take place. Like, let that cause and effect come into place. Like a situation happens and then an appropriate response is given right at that very moment. Like you don't need to plan that appropriate response. It's gonna come out in that moment just by itself. And you can trust that part. Like again, look at this. Like we have this person with their eyes open and we have a person with their eyes closed, right? And it's like you're always looking towards the future and trying to protect this part of you that you think is just going through life with their eyes closed. But this part of you that is not very actively looking around them to see everything, this part of you still has like an inner system. They still have like an inner compass that guides them, and that can be trusted to make the right decision at any point in time. And I'm kind of feeling like you can allow yourself to rest. You can allow yourself to like let go of the reins and to take a little nap. I think that's why like I was feeling this kind of zigzaggy energy, because it's like you can't kind of have this very intricate and precariously balanced methodology for figuring out how to act in any particular situation that may arise. You can't like kind of like keep track of all the moving parts no matter how much you try. And so it's okay to just trust your inner balance and trust that you can make the right decisions in all these different aspects of your lives. I'm also hearing that like, because the Hierophant, right? The Hierophant even talks about like old traditions and old, how do I say this? Like traditions that can even turn into like dogmatism, which is like dogma, like things that are kind of outdated. Like yes, they worked at a certain time, but like over time, like they worked at a certain time when we knew why. Okay, how do I even say this? This is such like a I've never kind of talked about this. I feel like I'm just like I'm doing this entire like precarious situation myself. I'm trying to like figure out how to show you like my thought process. But basically like something that worked at an olden time, they had a reason for that particular process to be put in place. Then the situation's changed, so there's no need to stick to that old process, right? You can change your process to incorporate the newness that life brings with it. And if you keep trying to apply an old methodology in new situations, that's outdated and it's not really going to help. So I feel like maybe like you might have like a certain way of like looking at situations or dealing with things that might be passed down to you from your relationship. It could even be like a generational thing, that everybody in your family always thought that it was best to always be on top of everything and to know everything and to plan for everything, and almost like this kind of perfectionism, which perhaps even held you back from acting in the first place, because you were like, I need to know everything before I make a move, right? And it's taken you like a lot of difficulty to even get to this place where you're able to actually act in the world to make these dreams that you've had a reality. But it doesn't need to be like that anymore. And I know like when I don't know if you remember, but initially I talked about like corruption as well, and in my head I was thinking of like red tape, and I feel like there's so much internal like red tape where like you don't know how to cross over and like actually get things done, because like you yourself are sort of holding yourself back in so many ways, because you feel like you need to know everything, like literally everything, every moving element in a certain situation before you can make a move and before you can actually act. But that isn't the case, and it's okay for you to sort of trust that you have like an inner compass that will guide you when time comes. And it's okay to realize, or rather it's necessary to realize that you are stronger than you think, that your inner child is stronger than you think, and that the vessel carrying you forth in this life, your body, your soul, your mind, is so much stronger than you believe. And so you don't need to do so many things to protect yourself, because you're going to be fine. The answers you need are coming, like you're going to get like the answers to your questions, and you're more likely to get the answers if you're actually making moves in the world and you're even making mistakes, because it's okay to make mistakes, and it's okay to like fail at things and to try again, and you're more likely to get to your final point of success if you allow yourself to make mistakes, rather than if you keep planning for your success, and then, you know, every time you plan something you get this another like contingency, not a contingency, but rather like, oh, like the situation could go bad in this new way, and then you have to sit and figure out how to make sure that that situation doesn't come to pass. And this is all happening in your head, so you're not even like moving out into the world and actually taking real steps towards making your dream a reality. Whereas on the other hand, if you just stepped out in the first place, maybe you would make a little mistake here and there, but that would automatically clear a path for you, and you would be so much closer to achieving what you actually want. So I feel like even this like imagery here that we have of like bring love into a situation, we have this the sign of like Aquarius, right? And she's pouring from this vase or vase, if you say that, and it's like coming back to her almost, and it's like allow yourself to be almost soothed by yourself in your own presence, and trust that you are like, that you can handle things, that you can handle failure, that you can handle literally anything that comes your way, because I'm kind of here like, you're built to last. Like, it's not we're not anywhere near as fragile as we think we are, and we got this. You got this. You can do anything that you actually like set out to do. You just need to set out to do the thing in the first place, and you can only do that if you let go of the reins a little bit, which seems so counterintuitive, right? Because you would assume that like letting go of the reins means that you're letting go of a situation, and how can you act in a situation that you've let go of? But then it's like, what you're letting go of isn't your ability to act, but rather everything that's holding you back from acting. This reading kind of went on like this like more like abstract tangent, but I really hope you get what I'm saying, because like my heart goes out to you guys, because I know that it can be super tough to be in this place, because you it's fear, right? It's fear that's holding you back, and it's horrible to feel so scary, or to feel so scared all the time that you hold yourself back. And I would really hope for you to be able to act with a lot more carefreeness. And I think it's coming. I think it's coming for you. This is just like in your path, you are going to get to that place where you can act from a carefree space. But sometimes you need reminders, and maybe this is exactly what this reading is meant to serve as. Like, this reading is meant to serve as a reminder. Yeah, because you have so much beauty in you. You're a visionary, and you have beautiful ideas, and you can work really hard, and you have the spiritual side to you. You have love in you. You have a really strong inner child. This is all you. You are made to last. You are made for success. Just give yourself that chance. Also, like, we have the blue fish here, and all these kind of like are blue colors, and that's making me think of just like this soothing, calming color. Allow yourself to be soothed. Allow yourself to feel calm. Like, you don't need to feel like on top of things at all times. You can just like let things go. Let things flow like water, and it's gonna be okay. I think this is where I'm gonna end the reading for you guys, pile 2. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting me read for you. Leave the video a like if this resonated, and comment down below like any of your thoughts, or if you just want to express yourself, or even vent or anything. Sometimes we just need a space to let go of like these feelings, and then we can kind of enter the space of being okay with just moving forward in life. So yeah, like, do that if you feel like, and subscribe if you'd like to see more readings from me, because I'm loving making videos here for you guys in this little corner of the internet. But yes, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye. Hi, pal number threes. This is for those of you that chose this clear rainbow coated fish. And let's get into your reading. Also, if you guys notice like the change in the lighting, it's also because I'm filming this a bit later. So there's like a lot less sunlight right now. And yeah, that's what that's about. But yeah, so I have two kind of pre-shuffled cards here that are going to be telling us the general energy of the month of May in 2025, and after that we'll be going into the areas of your life, which are your love and relationships, your career and studies, and your personal and spiritual growth. Those cards I'll be shuffling live for you on camera, but yeah, let's get into these cards first before moving on to those. So for your general energies in the month of May, we have one tarot card and one oracle card. So for your tarot card, we have the Tower, and for your oracle card, we have Child of the Cosmos. The intelligence of the universe lies within you. Okay, so I feel like with this Tower card, a lot of people perceive the Tower as being like this kind of terrifying thing because it usually talks about some kind of destruction taking place in our lives. But I feel like looking at this card, like this woman on this card, and the way that she's kind of just floating there and she's just like looking upwards, it feels like you're being set free of something. I will also say that, like, perhaps if you felt confused between one pile or the other, I'm not going to tell you which pile. You might want to kind of go and check the other pile that you were kind of thinking of as well, because there were like some kind of similar themes with one of the piles specifically, but you also don't need to. Let's get into like the specificities, and then I'll tell you if you really need to be doing that. Also, there's like a lot of children playing outside, so if you hear like some kind of yelling, it's like the kids running around and playing something. But yeah, I feel like you're sort of being set free, and it's happening in this very kind of specific way. Like, it's not just that something is breaking away and you're feeling lighter, but it's that you're realizing something within you. Like this, like the intelligence of the universe lies within you. So it's like you are connecting to a part deep within yourself, which is then allowing like a lot of external facades to sort of fall away. And I think that's why May is going to be about revealing or being transparent with your most authentic self and letting that express itself in the outside world from now on. And look at this, like the color, or rather the lack of color in the fish that you've chosen. It's a clear fish, and it's making me think of transparency all over again, but there's just like a rainbow coating on it. I don't know if you can see, I hope you can kind of make that out, but it's like there's something so beautiful and iridescent and full of color in this new self, and yet there is transparency. Usually when we think of transparent, we think of it as being without color, but there is still this vibrancy coming through. There is still the full spectrum of human emotion, and there is this full vividity, and just, is vividity a word, or like vividness, and brightness, and just magic coming through somehow. And all of it is coming through in this very sort of transparent way. Like, I don't even know how to kind of express that yet. I hope you're kind of getting what I'm saying, but like I'll try to kind of narrow down and kind of get better with like the way that I express this, but kind of like let's just focus on the general message for now. But yeah, I feel like May is going to be a month where you really kind of access a fundamental part of you, and through relying on that fundamental part, you realize that there's a lot on top of that fundamental essence that can just fall away because there is no longer a need for it to be there. Because I feel like when we function in the world, we take on like a lot of masks, and we take on a lot of facades, because we think that they're going to help us function. And yeah, like at some point they do help us function, but now you're realizing that you don't need this, and it's kind of like that internal light, that internal essence has been fighting against this mask that has been caked onto you, because it's holding that light back from shining. And now you're realizing that you can access that light and you can set it free. So you can break away the masks that are no longer working, you can break away the facades that are no longer working. So I feel like May is about taking action to ensure that you express yourself in the most authentic, true, honest, and real way possible. And I feel like you're gonna feel so incredibly free that even though like it might come with changes in your life, like the Tower does speak of things changing, right? It talks about like a foundation that was shaky breaking away. So even if it was something that was part of your routine, I feel like you're going to feel so free in yourself that you're almost not even gonna have to focus on the pains of the changes around you, because you know that you can rely on this inner light. I feel like, so I don't know like exactly where you are in your spiritual journeys. I feel like of course you are spiritual people since you are watching a tarot reading. So even though like you are spiritual people, I feel like you are going through a massive spiritual transformation in May. And even if it's not like this visceral feeling, like I don't even know how to say this, like I'm getting this image of like a snake shedding its skin. Oh yeah, and that also kind of connects to what I said about like you sort of shedding like your layers and your masks and your facades. But yeah, like even though the transformation doesn't feel like it's so life-changing, there is like an internal shift that is taking place that has massive consequences, or rather massive rewards even. That is like the general energy coming through, and I feel like it's gonna really like affect like every aspect of your life in different ways. So let's get into what those are, and we can come back to these cards if we feel like we need any more information from them. Also, I'm hearing that like this number right here, like the Tower is the number 16, so that might be a significant date in May for you, like the 16th of May. That might be significant, or it could even be like 16 breaks down to 7, so the 7th of May. That could also be significant. But yes, let's get into your cards for the specific areas of your life. And since, like I said, I'll be shuffling live for you guys, and I had to like kind of warn like pile number 1 and 2 as well that I'm a messy shuffler, and pile number 2 really got to see that. So yeah, I'm gonna be a messy shuffler, but that's fine, it gets the job done, it doesn't matter. So let's get into it. What is pile number 3, like what does pile number 3 have in store in May 2025 in their love and relationships? Ooh, we have 2 cards, and they both fell sort of like, usually they fall like this, but they fell like this, and I don't take 2 cards, but I kind of feel like taking them right now. Okay, so we have the Lovers and the 6 of Swords. I'm gonna put that like that. No, wait. That. I'm also gonna shuffle out all the cards. So what is coming for pile number 3 in the month of May 20? Okay, yeah, for your career and studies, and we have the Sun. Also, I don't take reversals. There are very specific decks that I take reversals with, and this is not really one of them. So we have the Sun. Oh my god, look at that. 2 areas and 2 major arcana cards already. What did I say? Like a massive transformation is coming. And finally, what is coming your way in the month of May 2025 in your personal and spiritual growth? That leaped out. We have the 8 of Wands. again, I think I have to, this is time for me to say the message that, like, if you had another pile that you were kind of confused with, you might want to go check that one out as well, because we had this card come out for that pile as well. I'm not going to tell you which pile, so you know, you can sort of check that one out, and if it has this card, then you'll know it's that pile. Okay, I'm also going to get some oracle cards out for each of these areas before we get into reading all the messages. What is coming for pile number 1 in the month of May in their love and relationships? We have meditate and contemplate with new moon in Pisces. What is coming for pile number 3 in the month of May 2025 in their career and studies / academics? Wow, look at that. Expect powerful change, new moon eclipse. What is coming for pile number 3 in the month of May 2025 in their personal and spiritual growth? We have your dreams need a practical plan, full moon in Taurus. So immediately what I'm sort of seeing here with these two cards, I think it's like really kind of serendipitous for us to get the Lovers card, especially when it's about like your love and relationships. I feel like it's a good sign. I think this might be because if you have like a partner, like you might kind of be having like you might be having like a really kind of romantic month in the month of May. And it's kind of interesting because like I'm kind of being drawn to like how in this card we have these lovers, right? And this person on the right, they're looking at this lock, whereas the person on the left is looking at the key. And it's making me think of how like one person in this relationship is really like focused on the ground reality of the relationship, like, you know, planning the day-to-day, and like, you know, maybe they're planning dates, maybe they're being pretty practical, and there's one person who's looking at like this key, like there's something that's like above them, something spiritual almost. And I think this person is you, because look at this again, like this person is looking upwards and they're feeling like a different kind of freedom coming through, right? And this is interesting because I feel like also like the genders that these people present as really don't make a difference, but I feel like it's possible that you might be kind of leaning into like a more spiritual kind of perspective when it comes to your relationships in the month of May, and your counterpart might be somebody who's on the more practical side, who's focusing on like the day-to-day kind of functioning of your relationship, like they're planning dates, they're planning a trip, they're planning just, you know, like if you guys share a house, they're planning like the running of the house. And it's kind of making me feel like a really wonderful dynamic also, because this person is then recognizing that you are sort of stepping back or like stepping inwards and like just discovering new things about yourself, and so they want to offer you like the practical support in the relationship so that you are free to then kind of pursue this new thing that's coming up. And again, like the Six of Swords, this talks about, it can talk about travel, so I feel like it connects to just how like one of you might be planning like a trip or something, like, you know, how somebody's planning like the practical aspects of a trip. But the Six of Swords also makes me think of like just contemplation and just like figuring things out like internally. And then we have meditate and contemplate right here, which is making me think of how you really need to just in some way like reevaluate your relationships. And this doesn't necessarily mean like reevaluate whether or not some people need to be in your life, and it doesn't always, that's what I said, right? Like I said that it doesn't have to be like this big transformation, but rather just like an internal shift. So it almost makes me feel like you're being able to discover ways of showing up more authentically in your relationships, and it's taking you some time to like figure that out, so you're like stepping away from the practical functioning of the relationship. But it's for good reason, because you're figuring out, maybe it could even be like sometimes, you know, you realize that, so that's something you've been doing has been maybe well, I don't want to use the word wrong, but just that maybe you were using patterns and things that you didn't necessarily need in your relationships. So for instance, maybe you realized that you were being kind of I'll just say it, like maybe you were being like manipulative, or maybe like in arguments you were not being able to express yourself authentically because of a certain fear or because of a certain anxiety. And it doesn't mean that this relationship that you have isn't loving. Also, this relationship, I know it says the lovers, but what I'm saying right now could translate to literally any relationship. So it could be like a relationship with your siblings, your parents, your best friend, though any relationship. So I feel like in the past, like you have kind of behaved in ways, you have behaved based on certain fears and anxieties that you have, and it's caused you to kind of act not so nicely. Let me just put it that way. Like you can sort of fill in the blanks yourself. Because I feel like right now you are like waking up. So that's what I'm saying. Like, you know, you had this like this mask or this facade that was caked onto you, and at some point it did, you know, it did play a certain role. But at this current stage in your life, with the way that your relationships currently are, you're realizing that those masks and facades aren't needed anymore, and that you can kind of express yourself in in a more authentic way based on what you actually truly feel. So when you feel scared, you don't need to trap the other person into telling you that, into reassuring you. You can just tell them like very point blank, like with all your honesty, that hey, like right now I just feel like a little distant, or right now I just feel like I need a little reassurance. Like you can kind of tell them very honestly. So I feel like you're really kind of contemplating on your own methods of communication and of even understanding your own emotions. And I feel like oftentimes we can like lie to ourselves about how we're feeling because we want to be right, but that just ends up being like a disaster, because then we don't act in accordance with what we truly feel. You know, we misunderstand and misinterpret ourselves because it's much easier to think of okay, let me just give you an example. Suppose in a relationship you have a certain fear that you're going to be abandoned, right? And when you interact with somebody, or when like an argument comes up with a loved one, instead of telling them or being like, hey, like right now I feel like the actions that you did, like they made me feel like a little abandoned, so can we just like talk about it? Instead of being that honest, you blew it way out of proportion, and you were like, this person, they're always just abandoning me, or like they're just gonna leave me any minute now. And like then you had to kind of put on this like extra emotional performance just so that they would come and reassure you. But the thing is, they love you, and it's so true, it's so possible that their actions could be misinterpreted, and that yeah, they might have done something wrong, but like I think it's also important to understand like where people are coming from. And here's the thing, this is something that I've been feeling intuitively, that like as a collective, I think we're moving away from just focusing on the words of it all. I think for so long we've talked about how oh, it doesn't matter a person's intentions, what matters is how they put them across. And while that is true, I feel like this usually works for when people aren't true about their actual intentions, right? So when we deal with people who actually harm us, right? And And then when we kind of call them out on it, they could very easily say something like, oh, but you're just perceiving it that way, what I intended was actually super different. And that's the thing, like, you could have picked that, you could have kind of then built a mask that was in response to their inauthentic behavior. But now the relationships that you are in are more authentic, and they might not know the perfect ways of communicating their things, but they're coming into your relationship with true intentions. And I feel like now you no longer need this mask of just overly focusing on like the words of a situation, and understanding that people can actually have true intentions that were not malicious. And so you're like re-evaluating your relationships and just how you look at your relationships. And I feel like it's going to deepen your bond with the people around you, because you're going to allow them to be seen in their authenticity, and you're allowing yourself to be seen by them as well, and you're seeing yourself. So I feel like this is really like an internal shift, because you're realizing that those patterns that you fell into during like arguments with these people, that they didn't feel right anymore, that they didn't make you feel protected, they weren't doing the job that they were originally meant to do, which was to protect you, and you no longer feel protected by them. So you're like, why do I not feel protected, what's going on? So you're really kind of breaking away these external layers to come down to like what, like your core, your essence, the light that shines within you. And that's what I'm saying, like, it's not this big transformation where you're having to like cut people out of your life or whatever, but you're just re-evaluating things. And then yeah, like this is sort of like you're moving into this new place, like this new perspective that is allowing your relationships to feel so much more secure and honest and true. And I think that's like a beautiful energy coming through. Okay, then we also have, for your career and studies, like your academics, we have the sun, which is such a lovely card, because the sun talks about bliss, it talks about happiness, it talks about life force. So I feel like this authentic self that you are finally like allowing to come through is also going to affect your work. It's going to affect the way that you can even approach your work. So I feel like you're really like, I'm hearing the word whittling, like Whittling, and it's used for wood, right? Like when you're carving away at something, I think. And it's like you're really kind of carving away the old dry wood at the top to come to this fresh wood in the in the center. And maybe that's not like the most accurate analogy, but that's the thing that's coming to mind. So I feel like you're just, because you're allowing your fresh authentic essence to express itself, you're also attracting to yourself powerful and beautiful opportunities that are in alignment with your truest self. And that's why I'm saying expect powerful change. Like, even look at this card, this is like a new moon eclipse, you can see the sun shining from behind the moon, and it's like something's coming, like you just feel it. And I think it's asking you to trust that feeling, and more so than trusting just the feeling, trust yourself, trust who you are internally, and that now that you're allowing this light to shine through, it's gonna shine on a lot of opportunities. So I'm also like literally seeing you as the sun. Look at that, like you are the sun, and now that you're letting your light shine, it's illuminating opportunities around you that you did not see before because it was dark, because your light was dimmed. This is such a powerful energy. Like you are the sun. It's, oh my god, I'm literally like, I'm almost like at a loss for words. And even look at this here, like this bright energy behind this key, like you are really like illuminating everything around you, and it is so powerful. Also with this, like, expect powerful change. And then with the 8 of Wands in your spiritual and personal growth, and the 8 of Wands talks about a rapid change. So I feel like this shift that you're having, like mentally, right, like this shift that you're having on like a soul level, is something that's going to bring in like a lot of changes quickly. And usually it can even be like a slower process, but you're seeing the results like immediately. But yeah, you can really like expect so much rapid change to happen, because some things they take time to learn. But this feels like it's clicking, right? Because you've been feeling the discomfort about it for some time now. Like you've been feeling this kind of I don't know how to say it, but you've just been feeling that something's not working. And you've been in this like state of realizing that something isn't working for like a fairly long time, and it hasn't clicked because you've just, yeah, like this whittling example that I gave before, right? It's like you can keep whittling away at something, but until you see the core, nothing can make sense. I'm also thinking of like when people are sort of digging for like crystals or just precious stones, you can like dig away a lot of the mud and clear everything, but until you see the crystal, you don't know what you have in your hands. So it's like this work has sort of been going on internally for some time, this discomfort, this effort, and this tension. So finally when it clicks, it might seem like it's coming through like very immediately, like the change it brings, but it's just that the results of the change are being seen immediately. It isn't that the change hasn't been taking time. Coming to this Eight of Wands right here with this card that says your dreams need a practical plan for Moon and Taurus, I feel like this is talking about exactly like how quick the changes are going to be once you finally sort of start having these revelations. And it's like some transformations take like a lot of time to sort of bring into reality, because like you have this period of like, you know, you sense that something's changing, and then you work on it for like a long period of time, and then you finally see like the end result of your work. But for this particular transformation, I feel like for so long you've sort of just sensed that something's off, like you've sensed this tension going on behind the surface, like something's bubbling underneath the surface. And so when this revelation comes to be, it's gonna be like something just clicks and things just start changing. And so a lot of things in your life might suddenly feel like they're changing very rapidly, when in fact the speed at which they're changing is perfectly aligned with the way in which the spiritual transformation has even just, you know, come into being. And I think like in that time when you're suddenly seeing like all these rapid changes that are positive in so many different ways, it can be very easy to get caught up in the excitement and the exhilaration and the joy of the transformations and the spiritual awakenings, that you sort of can, like, it can almost like get to your head. Because like the sun card, right, the sun is also making me think of like the sun sign. The sun sign talks about who we are, which is like our personality. And you know, like the fact that like the sun here is like a skull is making me think of just how we can let that light that is illuminating our life get to our heads, and we can think that we are the sole cause of all the goodness in our lives. And while that is true, we certainly have to take responsibility for the goods that we do, and just as we have to take responsibility for the not so good things that we do, it's also good to kind of remind yourself that humility is something that can really take you like a long way. And I think humility is also something that can help make this rapid like spiritual transformation sustainable. Because with the Eight of Wands, I feel like it's also something that could be like risky, is that you might run the risk of burning yourself out if you don't give yourself this practical plan, if you don't give this really powerful energy some direction. So instead of just like feeling the exhilaration of things, it's okay to sort of figure out how to ground yourself. Like, yeah, because like Taurus, right, Taurus is like earth energy, and it's like fixed earth energy, so you really need to kind of root yourself into the ground and really kind of find a way to ground yourself and just not fly too high. Like I said, you know, like Icarus flying too close. Did I say that already? I don't know if I can't remember if I said that before or not, but you know, because I was getting that imagery of like Icarus flying too close to the sun. So yeah, like keeping your feet firmly planted in the ground is going to really help you channel this energy in a more sustainable way. But I don't mean to say this to like worry you or like make you nervous about like how you need to sort of just manage things or something. It's just like it's like a light cautionary thing. It's like a little piece of like advice to kind of help you through the month of May. um and I think like ways in which you can sort of ground yourself are rooted in the sign of Taurus as well. Like, you know, just do things like, you know, when you feel like super overwhelmed with with the changes that are happening, come down to the basics, you know. Are you getting enough sleep? Are you like eating like good nutritious food? Are you moving your body a little bit for a little bit every single day? Are you doing your breathing exercises? You know, things like that, things that really bring you into your body. Because I feel like with spirituality, it's very easy to sort of feel like simultaneously like things are out of your control because you feel very out of your body, and also that you have this like immense power. And I think that's why, like, so the thing is, like, I also like, I love reading books about spirituality as well, and particularly like, you know, Indian philosophy and Hinduism and things like that. So there's this, you might be familiar with the concept of Kundalini, and the Kundalini is basically the serpent that sits at the base of your spine. And as Kundalini awakens, like, it rises through your chakras, and you know, when it finally leaves like the crown chakra is when you sort of, you merge with the infinite, you merge with spirit. And I think a lot of people, like, they really throw these words around, like when it comes to like Kundalini and Shakti and awakening and ego death and all this kind of stuff. But I feel like it's not as simple. But the thing is, like, it's very simple, but I don't know how to say it. Like, I think people like simultaneously make it more complicated than it is, but they also oversimplify it. And in oversimplifying it, they complicate it. So I think that a lot of people very easily, when they throw around terms like ego death and, you know, like awaken your Kundalini energy, they forget that awakening your Kundalini energy essentially means that you will merge with the infinite and that you're leaving your physical body behind. So it's like you can't like just with you know, at the drop of a hat, just, you know, think that, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna awaken my Kundalini and I'm just gonna merge with the infinite, because do we even know what that means, right? So I think it's like, be more sustainable. So even in your spiritual practices, like if you're starting, I don't know, any kind of spiritual practice, like maybe you're into like actually like Kundalini meditation, or maybe you're into, I don't know, maybe you're into Reiki healing, maybe you're into tarot, maybe you're into just whatever spiritual practice that is actually like assisting you in your life. Take it slow, take it step by step. Don't get too caught up in like the end goal of it all, because like, yeah, like it's about the practical everyday of it. And I think like that's why even with this partner that you have who is helping you, or not just your partner, but like literally anybody in your relationships who is kind of keeping an eye on like the practical side of things in your relationship, so that you can sort of have this spiritual growth as smoothly as possible. Like, it's almost like you could kind of take inspiration from them and really kind of lean into their energy as well, of taking things step by step and of doing things in a very practical way, and apply that practicality to your spirituality. Because this Eight of Wands is it's like a super fast moving energy, and I'm just literally picturing it like this like ball of fire that's like all the little particles are just going crazy in there, and like it's like, it's so hard to kind of harness this power, right? And like if you just sort of let it go, like it's just gonna burst everywhere, and you might even get like burnt out super quickly. And so it's good to sort of give it like a little direction and make it sustainable and come into your body, and like realize that even though you are having all these immense spiritual awakenings, at the end of the day you are still a human being, and there's a reason that you are a human being. It's to have the human experience, and we don't always have to rush into the infinite, or, you know, rush into the final result of our spiritual practices. We need to take it day by day. We need to have this step-by-step process of actually living our lives and, you know, doing the best we can and taking it easy, and just, I feel like I'm kind of rambling here, but I really hope you sort of get like what I'm trying to get at. But yeah, basically, like, what I'm trying to say is give your spiritual practices and your spiritual growth and your personal growth, oh yeah, even personal growth, like, you know, a lot of people who are really into psychology, and you know, they really want to get to the core of who they are as people. And like, it's like maybe you kind of, while doing shadow work, you were able to sort of integrate a part of your shadow into your conscious mind. And then that really excited you, because even though it came with some sort of like pain, because obviously, like, bringing your shadow up is no easy process, and honestly, props to you for having done that. That's amazing, congratulations. With the success of that one kind of process, it can be easy to be like, wow, now I need to figure out everything about myself right now. And I think that's the thing, like, you know, that's like when it gets to your head, because you start living in your head at that point. You think about, oh, I need to figure myself out, as if it's just something you can think your way to. And it's not, it's something that you have to also like feel your way through. I feel like I literally need to like kind of summarize this entire reading, just so we can like get like a handle on things, because I feel like I kind of sense this like energy of feeling kind of overwhelmed, but not so much in like a negative way, but just in this like very exhilarated, excited way. So I think I'll just like do like a quick summarization of this reading for you guys. So overall, I'm really excited for you guys for the month of May. And I know we have the tower here, which can seem like it's such a scary thing, but I feel like you guys are going through like this transformation, which is more to do with like your internal shifts rather than your external reality. And you're really going to feel connected with the cosmos, with the world, with spirituality. And this kind of, this fast moving revelation, this transformation, this awakening that you're experiencing is going to bring rapid changes into your life in a lot of different ways. Like, in terms of your work, it's really going to illuminate the opportunities that you actually need to be drawing closer to you. And in your relationships, you're really going to see like how you can show up as your most authentic self, and take away a lot of unnecessary patterns and fears that were perhaps hindering your bond with the people around you. And it's going to be also a time where you really sort of appreciate the people that you're with. You really appreciate the work that they do as well. And I think that's why, like, I do sense this energy of you sort of being able to be inspired by them and leaning into their practical energy as well. Because I know this says like your dreams need a practical plan, but something about the fact that it's full moon is making me think of how you're learning things. You're not just like shutting things out, like you're being open to understanding and appreciating the work that other people are putting into your relationship with them. Yeah. And again, like, take your time with everything, you know, just settle into your body, know how to ground yourself, and honestly, like, have a good time. Like, don't get too in your head about it. Like, I think you guys are gonna have like an amazing May, and it's gonna be full of a lot of insights and exciting opportunities and flourishing relationships, and yeah, fast moving energy, but energy that you will be able to ground. And I really, like, I am fully confident in you guys, and I know that you guys can achieve like the most sustainable way of going about this entire thing. And it's gonna be a good May, and I'm super happy for you guys. But yeah, this is where I'm gonna end the reading. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for letting me read for you. I love reading for you guys here in this little corner of the internet. So if you'd like to see more videos from me, you can subscribe to my channel. Also, like the video if it resonated with you, and comment down below like any thoughts you might have, because I'd love to hear also like the way that you guys just think and receive these readings. But yes, thank you so much for letting me read for you, and I'll see you in my next one. Bye.